Rudaba Murtaza, take the privilege of commencing the topic of the seminar, the Untapped Energy Mine, the revolutionary scope of renewable energy technologies for Bangladesh, and NRB's role in formulating appropriate energy policies. It is a pleasure to introduce the moderator of this session, Mr. Ehsan Imdad, President Biofuel Company. Sir, would you please do the honor to start the session?
My name is Ehsan Imdad. You have to pardon me. I just had a presentation on biofuel, and Rupa, excuse me, just called me and insisted if I could be moderator. And also have to pardon me regarding the subjects. Like I said, I wasn't aware of it. So,
Actually, Mr. Dupal Chandra Barua, Managing Director of Gramin Shakti, was supposed to be moderating this show, but still he is not here. Mr. Ehsan Imdad, President of Biofuel Company, will be moderating this show. Thank you.
Our first presenter is Dr. Sajid Kamal, Professor and solar system expert from, I believe, from Boston. I would like you to come and make your presentation. And, we also have here Professor Saifur Rahman and panel, Mr. Osman Yusuf, Mr. Nasir Ahmed, Chief Guest, Honorable Advisor, Mr. E Chowdhury, and special guest, Dr. Fazl Kabir Khan, and Mr. Mohammed Mohsin. Dr. Sajid Kamal.
Thank you, and first of all, thank you all very much for taking time to be here. There are many very exciting and important events that are happening right now, and I would myself find it difficult to choose between one and the other. I very much appreciate that you've taken the time to be here, and I hope that few minutes that we spend together will be meaningful for us all. And I'd like to thank the chief guest, Dr. Chowdhury, for making time to be here, and all the distinguished guests, as well as the sponsor of this very important conference, first non-resident Bangladeshi conference. And I'd like to personally also thank Shameem and Rupa for their tireless work over the year to make this happen. And I'd also like to thank the sponsor of this particular seminar, which is Renewable Solar. I've been associated with it in an informal way for over 25 years with the development of Renewable and Renewable becoming Renewable Solar. So it's a special pleasure that we are here together. Anyway, so the time is short, so I would just like to say a few things which I hope will come through you as not full explanation of what I'm really saying, but just some statements that I hope that we can take on during our discussion. So first part, what I'd like to say a few words about the topic, and then I think that as a picture says 1,000 words, what I have done is that I've brought some slides of various applications of renewable energy technologies around the world. So I will just take a few minutes to show the slides, and then we will come back to many of the slides as well as any other thing that I say during our discussion. So with that, let me just begin with the very first question that we ask ourselves, which is that why is it that this is an important topic? What is it that brings us here? Well, I think that if we look at very briefly what the energy scenario is right now, I think that itself is the answer why the topic is important and what brings us here. What it is that we know that we get all our energy sources from the sun, okay? Natural way and technological way. And the way, the technological way that we have been getting it have been through coal, that's been there first in the Industrial Revolution, and oil, natural gas, and uranium. And these four sources have been the sources of our industrial fuel over the last years. Again, I think nobody questioned the benefits we have received from some of these things, but at the same time, what is happening right now, we are beginning to realize that some of the promises that were there have been fulfilled, and at the same time, we have also come to face some of the problems that are associated with it. So what are some of the problems associated with this? That what we know is that oil, natural gas, and uranium, they probably will be depleted over the next 30, 50 years. If I take a conservative view, it will be 50 years, and some people are saying that it is maybe even less than 20 years at the rate that we are using them, at the rate that we are increasing that consumption. And then you have coal, 200, 250 years old. Okay, so that's one issue of depletion. But then the other thing is that what if we had plenty of these? Would that be an answer? Well, I think that what we are really beginning to find out is that using this non-renewables, oil, natural gas, and coal are creating, one of them is climate change. Really, that is a critical problem for the world itself, not only for Bangladesh, just as much as that's important, it's for the world. It's one of the most critical problems that we are facing. So, which means is that in Bengali, as you know, there's a saying called "Shakher Karat," jeteo kate, ashteo kate. And this is what we are facing with this energy resources, that we cannot, having it is a problem, and not having it is a problem. So therefore, we really have to think an alternative that takes us away from dependency on that. And then at the same time, what we are also realizing that as we begin to use them, and we really need more of them, we use them up, and so we go to take it from somebody else, and so initially we buy from each other, we share with each other, and then we go to war. And I don't think that any war can be explained with any single reason. But I think it is absolutely being naive to really assume that there's nothing. Iraq has nothing to do with oil. My sense is that if Iraq was growing bananas instead of oil, I think the United States would be sending $300 billion a year, and at the expense of several hundred American soldiers and over 650,000 Iraqi civilians' lives. Well, I think that my answer is yes, we would still do that if we're as dependent on bananas as we're dependent on oil. So in that sense, because we're dependent on oil, we are there, and that's what we're doing. So in that sense, what you see, the issue becomes a combination of political crisis, it becomes a question of environmental, economic. We know that economic destruction is coming up, economic collapses are happening because of fuel. So we really have to think broadly and think globally. And I would very much like to make the focus of this discussion, of course, Bangladesh, but I think that there is a saying called think globally, act locally. We need to do that. And so that's why I'm giving a global picture of what is going on. And what that means is that I've been working with this for almost 30 years, and I've been asking this question to myself, and what I have come to both the understanding and the decision is that if we really want to mean we take sustainability seriously, what we have to do is that we have to recognize that we're at a crossroads, and as soon as possible, we have to call for a global moratorium on the use of non-renewables, and use those non-renewables very carefully, using the best efficiency and conservation measures as transitional fuel to go into renewable energy path. Unless we do that, we are heading for a collapse, destruction and suicide. And that's my decision, and I take that very, very seriously. And I think that it is not just my voice. I think that you are among yourself. Many of you are very committed to this thing. You carry a great deal of wisdom. I hope that we get a chance to share some of our understanding and opinions about this as well. So, with that in mind, we said that oh my goodness, if that's the problem, what do we do? Well, I'm very hopeful because as I have been observing this issue of depletion and environmental and economic destructions and political crisis related to this, I've also been looking at what are some of the alternatives. So for those alternatives, I go back to really let's look at the basic source of energy, the sun. Sun is here, and the sun gives us energy for light, heat, wind, water movement, and photosynthesis. These are the 5 subsystems that gives us energy for year after year, day after day, month after month, centuries after centuries. And I confess to you that my understanding is the sun is not going to last forever either. As of now, the sun's life is about 5 to 10 billion years. But I feel that it is longer than 50 and 30 years or 250 years. And I do think that human beings are capable of critical thinking and making sensible decisions and evolves intelligently. So maybe after 5 billion years we'll evolve into something else. But my hope would be that it will be in terms of an evolution with the nature as opposed to catastrophic destruction and suicide among ourselves. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is quickly go and show you some slides, and I'll then I hope that you'll have some comments, opinion, criticisms, but I very much appreciate that there's some time given for that, and we'll come back to that during that time. So please bear with me. Again, my slides will be showing different applications of the different technologies, and we'll look at that. What I have with is a very small example of one technology, sort of in a mini scale, and many of you I know you're experts and familiar with, and I assume I was also told that some people are not. So what I brought is to show you something that is of a piece that is called photovoltaic. Photovoltaic is really and when you look at pick up sand, you have silicon, and the science tells us that and sunlight hits silicon, it generates electricity. Well, you take that silicon to a lab and you grow it. And you grow it into solar cells, and from solar cells to solar panels. So this is a solar cell from silicon, which means that as light is hitting it, it's generating electricity. And so we'll see that how this can be enlarged, or many of these can be put together. And one small example of this is that as that was a solar cell, and this is a mini solar panel, which is simply that 3 cells are put together here, and these 3 cells are generating 3 times more electricity than that. And if it does that, if it put it under light, that's what will happen. And for that, I'll just hold you just for a moment. Really? Okay, if I hold it like that, do you see it? It's lighted? No. I assume no. Do you see it lighted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yes.
It turns away from light.
No light.
It goes away. It turns toward the light. It turns on. Okay. Simple as that. It's a high-tech, but to me a definition of a good technology that gets simpler. And it's simple, light hits it, generates electricity, and that's photovoltaic. Photovoltaic. Photo is light and voltaic is the voltage. And so we will look at some of the applications of this technology. Okay, so let's go with a light, heat, wind, water movement, and photosynthesis. What we have here is a light, heat, wind, water movement, and photosynthesis is powering some renewable technologies such as photovoltaics, wind generators, solar thermal systems, hydroelectric systems, and solar cookers, which is basically cooks, but at the same time, solar cooker can be in form of hot box or biogas, a dish type, or solar cookers. Okay, this is the wind turbine that we are standing under. It's in Hull, a town of Massachusetts. One wind turbine is a 660 kilowatt wind turbine, and that's generating electricity for the homes in that area. Okay, this is in Wales. It's a wind farm. You can see that the farm is growing food as well as generating electricity and also growing children. Wind farm in California. There's miles and miles, and in wind turbines in California, just 1% of the total electricity of California, and that's 1% is of course not big in terms of percentage, but it's huge in terms of the size of California. Okay, in India, and you know India has one of the largest comprehensive renewable energy program in the world, combining wind turbine, photovoltaic, biogas, solar thermal, solar cookers, and this is again another wind farm in India. Okay, Germany is now actually #1 in wind production in the world, and Japan is number 1 in photovoltaic production in the world. And you can see this is one of the German wind farms, and you can have offshore or onshore. And this is an offshore in Denmark. Okay, this is a solar thermal system in a home of our friends in Boston. You can see a solar thermal system that generates about half of their solar hot heating for during the year. And this is my wife. She's just showing how some of the solar cookers, homemade solar cookers work. Okay, biogas in India, it can be underground, it can be overground. Germany, this is the biogas for electricity as well as heat. Okay, so 15 kilowatt portable microhydel system. We know that hydroelectric system can be destructive, and it's a very instructive that we pay attention to ecological aspects of it. But what is important is to realize that we can have hydroelectric systems, but they can be ecologically planned, unlike Kaptak and Mahabali and all the dams that are creating a lot of problems around the world. Okay, this is a small photovoltaic system in Sri Lanka. It generates 3 lights and has a little point for a black and white television. It's a 35 watt panel. This is a standalone system in the United States. We are standing in front of Paul Fowler's house, and the entire house is powered by this standalone system. The bank of batteries in the basement, and it was installed in 1986. Okay, Saudi Arabia, you can see medical refrigeration. This is photovoltaic for medical refrigeration. There are two small refrigerators carrying medicine from one side of the desert to the other. This is in Lesotho. It's a 100% renewable energy home. You can see a solar panel for electricity, solar hot water system, and a solar cooker. Okay, this is in El Salvador. I directed a project in El Salvador last year. There we are. We have set up a system for this bricklayer's home in one of the very, very remote native American home in El Salvador. Cuba, Cuba has taken a very, very true, in real sense, they're not just revolutionary education, also revolutionary energy. Their goal is to transform the entire energy system into renewable path. And that is really happening right now, about transforming the schools, homes, and clinics. Okay, this is a small system in Boston that we put in. We live in Boston, in the city, and this is on the 5th floor outside window. And there we have our son, Ashok is right there. This was in 1986, sitting with our cat. And the room is powered by solar electricity. And 20 years later, the system is still functioning, and Ashok is also still here. Okay, now as for spaceless things, you can see all those solar panels there. Okay, solar boat. This is a boat that started in Basel, New York, Basel in Switzerland, and it came all the way to New York, 100% powered by solar power. And so again, this is another example of how boats, and Bangladesh is filled with boats, and there's an example of a 100% solar powered boat. Okay, solar cars, these are solar powered cars. This is in the University of South Florida. All those vans are being powered by solar electricity. And when the electricity, the cars are fully charged, the electricity goes into the building. So no electricity is wasted. This is in Switzerland. This is a sound barrier to stop the sound coming into the area. And what is happening here is that the sound barrier is built with solar panels. So it's working as sound barrier as well as generating electricity for the area. So Japan, I mentioned, is #1 in solar use right now, solar electricity from photovoltaic, so that's a Japanese home. Germany is #1 in wind and #2 in photovoltaic. This is two of our friends' children playing under the solar system. Okay, this is a Bavaria solar park. What you see is a park. Actually, it's a solar panel. Now people say, okay, that much space is taken, that's great. It's generating almost 10 megawatts of electricity. But then what happened is that you look under, and you have farming. So the way this is designed, that every square foot of the ground can be used for farming. So it's growing food and electricity at the same time. Okay, this is in Copenhagen. You can use the wall for system. Okay, this is in New York, and people naturally ask that, can you do it for urban areas? Well, this is 4 Times Square. No place could be more urban than Times Square, as you know. And this is a 64-story building. All the walls are built with solar panels, which means the whole building is an electricity generating station. It's translucent, so you can see, it's like a glass. You can see outside, you can see through. So it's not that you're sitting in a dark room. And this is, again, it's a building integrated solar system, and that's really also gaining popularity as. Okay, this is on top of Harvard University. You can see people standing next to this flat. Again, if it put on an angle, it will generate more electricity, but sometimes the calculation is that you put it that way, you save some money. And this is a system we installed last year. This is in Boston, and Mayor Menino, who is inaugurating it. And I'm standing in the middle. This is for an art high school, Boston Arts Academy in Boston. Okay. This is in Cambridge. You can see those are solar shingles. It looks like roof, a natural roof, ordinary roof, but those are solar powered. So this building, this friend of our house, Rosie and Henry and Liz are standing in front of the house, and it's about 7 kilowatt system, power the entire house. Okay, this is the first, as far as I know, the first solar electric system that we put in Thamrai. In 1989, it was in July. And during that time, I launched this program in 1986 in Bangladesh called Photovoltaic Solar Pilot Program for Bangladesh. And during 87, 89, we installed 10 solar electric systems across Bangladesh. and this was one of the ones this is in Kolani, and I was very happy also to see that at that time Red Crescent Society was also putting a system same year at a cyclone center in Shundi. So those are parallel placement during the first two ones, and then since then we have also installed 10 more since then during the year. And same year, 1989, this is Ubinix Nijarakori, Nijarakori's training center. Okay, this is the Center for Mass Education in Science, Professor Ibrahim's. So we also contributed one panel for the system on 1989. And this is Energy Park. I was giving some seminar since '86 there, and then we offered to cooperate with the place as they were thinking about doing an energy park, so we contributed 2 systems to the place. And now you know that it has become a very exciting and very educational place for the entire country, and people from other countries come there too. This is BCAS. It's one of the, in Bennabari, this is the Wetland Research Center that we contributed. This is Bapa Solar Room. Sorry, the lighting is not that good. Bapa Solar Room. I'm just showing some examples. Okay, this is the first utility connected system that we put in Bangladesh. This was we put in between 1998 and 2001. I was invited to consult and develop the program for BRAC, called BRAC Solar Energy Program for Sustainable Development. So we did some standalone systems, we did some wind turbine, solar cooker, biogas, and then part of it also where we did 2 utility connector systems. This is in Mymensingh and Targustin. Again, there's issues need to be addressed with the power line, the utility itself, but it gave us a lot of data, and I think that we have some very important data to go forward with it, and I'm very happy that Dhaka University has also installed a 1.1 utility connector system. This is in Pekua. We installed a small wind turbine there, you can see on top. That's in Cyclone Center. And these are the 2 wind turbine, weather office, and PV wind hybrid. What we find is in some places, you get very good wind for some of the time and very good sunlight for some of the time. Even you get some of both during the entire year. But one of the good answer is to combine the 2, and that's what we have done. Okay, just a couple of more. I'm also very appreciative of all the other organizations that have been taking lead, and so this is one of the Grameen Bank installations, and I really feel that between Grameen Bank and BRAC and a number of other organizations, Coast is one, Tangamara, and EDCO, there's a whole lot of other, I put down some of the names in my paper, and I'm always learning about it, so please excuse me if I did not mention some. But I'm very excited about how some of these organizations have come forward and installing systems of various kinds. Okay, then you have this boat in Shidulai. This is a solar powered school and library, and this is very exciting application in Bangladesh. Mukti Juddha Jadugor, I was asked, actually I was talking to some of the trustees, and I asked them that would today's meaning of liberation would be to free ourselves from dependency on oil. Well, they agreed. So with an organization that I'm involved with, I helped put in some solar system in Mukti Juddha Jadugor. So if you go on the 2nd floor, it's now powered by solar systems. Okay, this is I was told about Khansat, and I think that to me it's sad, and there are many reasons for it, and I don't want to, at this point, go into detail of it, but I was told about it. I was very touched to hear what really happened, that people have to die in a country that is so rich with energy. So I talked to some of my friends and my family, and we put together a small fund, and with July I came, I went to Khansat myself with people from here, and we installed, with the people of Khansat and Ghulam Rabbani's cooperation, we installed the system on the first mortar in Khansat. And that's, okay, this is the inauguration taking place. You know, there's Kajol's parents, and people say this is the first time they are smiling since the Kajol died last year. And there's Ghulam Rabbani, and there's Shudeep Shaha, who is the coordinator of program. He manages the program, he's engineer for BRAC program. So, okay, 2 more. Okay, this is, you know, in Bangladesh, Mohila Parishad, the building is named after my mother, Sufia Kamal Bhavan, but the 4th floor is Rokeya Sadhan, which is the home for the shelter for young women and girls. And what I did was that I was there, and then we installed this system in 2004, and the entire fourth floor is now powered by solar system in Dhaka, Sheraton. And this is the inauguration taking place. And I want to just end with, so there's a inauguration taking place, and I just want to end with one. As we talk about some of these technologies, of course, we are always very happy thinking that we're doing new things, and there's a great deal of good feeling about doing something that is important. But at the same time, to me, what has been very, very important to look back within ourselves, that what can we find, what has happened about some of these ideas in our own history. Well, when I was talking to my mother in 1986, because I was working on this thing for 10, 15 years before that, my mother said that she gave me a copy of this Sultana Shapno. You all know Begum Rokeya, and this Sultana Shapno, and the English translation is Sultana's Dream. Okay, what you do here is that you know that what it is that this Sultana wakes up and says, where am I right now? Well, you're in a ladyland. What is ladyland? It is a ladyland that is run by run by women. And people are doing, really different things. Men are doing, okay. So would you like to go around? I do like to go around. So she did. So she was taken to a room. She said, what is this? This is a kitchen. So she said, well, if it is a kitchen, why is it that there's no smoke, no soot, this thing? So what she says, how do you cook? She said, with solar heat. She said at the same time showing me the pipe through which pass the concentrated sunlight and heat. And she cooked something then and there to show me the process. Solar cooking, okay? So then she said, would you like to meet our queen? Of course, I'd like to. So this woman, Sultana, is going with, traveling with, well, how are you going to go there? This is all places, all these trees. He said, don't you have any cars? He said, no, we don't use cars because we don't want to destroy the natural things, but we do, how do you travel? Because the land is for vegetation. It should be conserved, the trees should be conserved. So how do you go from one place to another? He said, oh, for that we have another answer. So she gives some signal, and 3 balls comes around, 3 pipes, and then what happens? Okay. Then she screwed a couple of seats on a square piece of plank. To this plank, she attracted 2 smooth and well-polished balls. When I asked her what the balls were for, she said they were hydrogen balls and they were used to overcome the force of gravity. The balls were of different capacities to be used according to the different ways desired to be overcome. She then fastened the air car to wing-like blades, which she said were worked by electricity. Now, the most advanced thinking is talking about hydrogen power, is talking about solar electricity, is talking about solar heat. Begum Rokeya, she wrote this in 1903, 100 years ago. She saw solar electricity, she saw solar cooking, she saw solar power hydrogen. Okay? And so to me, it was an immense pleasure and a pride to be able to power Rokeya Sheraton in 2004, 100 years later, when we put up the system in Rokeya Sheraton. And to me, that humbled me, that made me very proud of our own heritage and where we are coming from. And this is what we really have to ask ourselves, that we have to learn from around the world and we can teach the rest of the world. I carry this with me around the world, really, and to show that how he's a pioneer woman on renewable energy who lived in Bangladesh, and she continues to inspire me. And I think that this will be so my closing remark for now. I very much appeal to you together, to come together, to look within ourselves and look outward, because a seed just doesn't remain a seed. It grows, it becomes a plant and branches out. And we need to do that. In order for the plant and the tree to survive, it needs the air and the sunlight that is outside the tree. But at the same time, it grows the best when it is rooted, when it is in touch with ourselves. And that would be my thoughts and my appreciation for being here among you. And I look forward to learning from you as the time goes. And thank you very much for allowing me this time. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Kamal. We're in a very tight time frame zone. So without further delay, I would like to invite our second presenter, Professor Saifur Rahman, Director, Advanced Research Institute, Virginia Tech.
Assalamu alaikum. what I'll do, I have given this similar talk in Bangla in Kolkata. So আমি বাংলায় বলতে পারি, if that's your preference. অথবা ইংরেজিতে বলতে পারি, and the discussion in Bengali at the end. So what's the chief guest privilege? Bangla na ইংরেজি? Okay, yeah. ইংরেজি বলি তাহলে? But you can do questions and answers in Bangla পরে. I'll do both, Bangla anyways. First of all, it's my privilege to be here in the presence of very important company. Cannot be any better than this. We have the energy advisor, with the power secretary, former chairman of PDB. We have several people from hydrocarbon unit, from Prime Minister's office, people from private sector. So I feel very humble in presenting this topic, but I feel it is important that I do, because I'm raising some questions which I feel have not been fully raised in the context of Bangladesh, where I come from. I was a BUET student many years ago, and I do come back to Dhaka several times a year. So I think I know what's going on. I'm not totally uprooted and just flown in last night to give you a big lecture about what is good for the country. So I'm not coming as a consultant, I'm coming as a son of the soil, try to find out what's going on. In that context, let me ask you some honest questions. I'm not going to give you any answers. I will, on the other hand, ask you to think what the answers could be. And I'll talk about coal and nuclear primarily, because as Dr. Kamal said, those are vices, we're used to it, coal and nuclear, but I do a lot of work on solar power. I don't believe that you can do without coal and nuclear at least next 50 years, at least 50 years or more. So all of us here would not be here most likely before the coal runs out. So talk about coal and nuclear, and talk about what is the international politics regarding this issue. If you want to hear about solar, I can stay here all night and talk about solar. That's my privilege. What I'll do, as I talk about energy policy making in different parts of the world, what I see as a professor who teaches energy type stuff, the countries, I'm looking from the US perspective, EU perspective, also I go to China very often, what they look at in the country's development. The policymakers, primarily governments, objective is to provide for the current and future energy needs of the country. But at the same time, we have to look at the energy security, that's very important. Third, if the country has domestic energy resource, that has to be explored and properly utilized. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. Most importantly, a country like Bangladesh has to be able to attract domestic and international investors. The problem I've seen working in developing countries, one reason why some developing countries fail to attract foreign investment is the country appears to be a naysayer. The proposal comes in, answer is, why not? I don't know. I just don't like it. So unless you can explain this, you cannot get it. So what really happens at the end, either the country does not get the investment, or they do get the investment at a very high price, because the investor takes a very high risk premium. That's standard practice. So are you going to give a high risk premium and accept anywhere at the end, or be smart and attract good people, good investors? One case in point, I was in Morocco some time back. Morocco in Tangier, if you know the geography, facing the Spanish coast, a very windy spot. So they said we will attract investors for wind. I told them, this is part of ONE is the national power company in Morocco. I said, before you go to them, if you tell them come and find out, they will give you investment opportunities all over the place. Do a basic survey, what kind of wind resource you have in the country, and then say, this is my wind resource, can you give me a bid on this? And they get very good bid, very attractive objectives. That's what I'm talking about, investor opportunity. I'll talk about coal and nuclear. This is a plant in Thailand, 2,000 megawatts north of Thailand near Chiang Mai, and this is a project in the US. Coal is coal. Very quickly, Bangladeshe coal deposit, যেগুলো পাওয়া গেছে, if you add these numbers, about 2 billion tons. Borapukri under production, Khalishpur, Fulbari is a big question. I have some data on this. Dihipara, 600 million ton, Jamalganj, 1,000 million, 1 billion ton, and so on. So this is the issue. Question that you're asking, why some are being developed, some are not being developed. Well, here it is. Borapukari under the production, deep shaft, underground mining, 100 থেকে 500 meter depth, which is fine. Fulbari, 150-240 meter depth. Fulbari seam depth, Borapukari comparable, 118, 150. The big controversy in Bangladesh, I was in Dhaka last September when the newspapers were publishing articles promoting open pit mining because journalists went to Germany and they saw some nice pictures and got very impressed. And I'll show you why we should not be very impressed. Then Dihipara Jamalganj. The problem is we have total of 2 billion tons of coal. Is that is it a high number, low number? And I'll let you decide once I show you what is happening around the world. Well, this is the theme of this topic, the global awareness. How do other countries do what they do? And what is the reason for their success? And what can we learn from that? Coal requires a lot of infrastructure. For example, if you go to coal, before I go to coal infrastructures, look at the countries. We talk about 2 billion tons of capacity. আমাদের production এখন less than million tons a year. Look at production in these countries. China produced in 2006 2 billion tons. 2 billion tons, China. US almost billion. India almost 400 million ton production last year. The 10th country 61 million tons. আমরা 1 million আমাদের target. Keep that in mind where we are, what you need to do. Second question, these reserves. So for them, it makes a lot of sense to invest in the infrastructure, mining, transportation, storage, healthcare, coal management, and the like. And what can we do in that context? Before we go too far, these are the two options, surface mining or open pit mining or strip mining. You basically scrape the topsoil first, remove the overburden, and then you see the coal seam. Or like we did in Borapukuri, we have deep shaft, 150-200 meter deep, and dig up the coal. I'm sure how it is done. Problem is, if the coal deposit is about 300 feet or so, this makes sense, scrape it up. What are the resource viability? If the overburden is about 15 times more than the seam depth, that makes sense. তার মানে হলো যে আপনার seam depth হয় 20 meter, you can dig 300 meters and take it out. Otherwise, not cost effective. But you have to remove the overburden and the drilling if the issue is deep mining. Then the question is, should we do open pit or strip mining? Borapukuri holo closed, shaft, and Fulbari may be open pit. Look at these pictures very carefully. These are examples of open pit mining in different countries. Eta Wyoming in the US, Dr. Sadullah's home state at this time. These coal tractors. You can imagine how big this thing is. The wheel is 10 feet in diameter. And that can carry up to 100 tons of coal. And if you look, this is I'm showing this picture. Look at the surroundings, nobody lives there. No tree, no land, agriculture, just dirt. This is in the US, this is in the US also. See how this is done. You dig it up and leave it alone. Because when you leave alone, the water falls, rain comes in, they're very caustic, very acidic, and it's a health issue. You have to just do not go nearby. This is in Germany. This is the kind of picture our journalists saw in Germany in last summer and came back and reported on this. This is a plant in Westphalia, Germany, where they are doing strip mining. The reason I'm showing this, if you look in the back, you see no habitation, no forest even, no trees, no land. This is how it is done. What you do, you dig up the land, put the dirt on the side, and then expose the coal seam, and scrape it off, and then come back and cover it up. And you end up with a pond after 20 years. This is in Thailand, MIMO project. This is lignite project. They are serving a 2,000 megawatt coal-fired plant with this project. Again in Thailand, no habitation, no village, no people, no forest, no agriculture. This is Thailand. Now, coming home. Phulbari, this is the project. This is the land which is where the coal exists. This is Boropukuria. Boropukuria coal mine, boundary, Boropukuria power plant. This is the Boropukuria town. This is the train line goes through Boropukuria going up to Rangpur, Dinajpur and the like. This is the land. Well, this is how it looks like. Satellite picture of Phulbari as of last year. This is the town of Phulbari. This is the river. This is the train line. We want to do the coal mining in this area. Watch closer view. What we see? We see agricultural land, people living here, homes and the like. Close up, Phulbari town. If we do go back and strip mine, what has to be done? Dig up all this dirt, all this land becomes unusable. Move that dirt on the side, 30, 40 feet tall, cover that with plastic, so in the rains, the dirt doesn't wash away, and you dig up this area, dig the coal, 10 years, 15 years, put the dirt back. Impact on the land use. This is how it will be done if we do strip mining in Phulbari. That is, you bring in these huge tractors, after the dirt is removed, you scrape it. And that's how it is done. Now, this is how it is in Germany, and this is no useful application of the land back forth. Here, that's the land. So this is the land we have, that's what we'll get. Then, impact of Phulbari project. This came from an ADB report that was done for Phulbari. About 50,000 people have to be removed from Phulbari and 100 villages. There is estimated 500 million tons of coal at a depth between 150 and 240 meters. The net income, again, these numbers are controversial, but that's the number I got from ADB report, that the government will get $200 million US, including the royalty, if the company who was exporting it can produce 15 million tons of coal per year. This is the number you'll get if the revenue is there. So the question comes back. This is the income. What is the cost? You have to look at this. This is all gone. Agriculture, people living there, food production, and you got to cover this land for 50, 30 years at least, not for any other use. This is a question. I'm not giving any answers. That's questions. So you decide what the country needs to do. So, this is the situation, and we look at this, how we want to keep it going forward. Now, say, what was done in Boropukuria? Boropukuria, look at where is the coal? We can even tell it. This is the coal mine. See the ventilation right there? That's the coal mine shaft. This is the conveyor belt, picking up the coal from the mine and taking it to the 250 megawatt coal-fired power plant. Chinese built it. This is the cooling pond. And if I go close up, this is where the coal is being dumped. If you want to use the coal, this is where the coal is dumped. The rest of the coal is transported to the power station. This is a closer view, and you can see this is a higher elevation going to the shaft. So, question then is, what are the opportunities and challenges for us? This is the thing I talk about. Naysayers. You cannot just say we will not sell coal. We cannot do coal because coal is bad for us. Cannot do that. Why? Because there is no gas in that part of the country. And because of coal availability, opportunities for power plants like Boropukuria, heavy industries, and the other problem is if we cannot attract foreign investors, who will give Bangladesh $1.2 billion? They do it herself within the country. That's an issue. So, on the other hand, if you get overseas investors, they want to get return on their investment. They have to export the coal. So this is the dilemma. You let them export the coal, mess up the land, and 20 years from now they're gone, money is gone, and we are back to square one. Or we do something else. That's something we can discuss in question and answer periods. This is coal. My time is running out. So I'm going to go to nuclear because I have read newspaper articles recently in Bangladesh. That article like a week ago, Bangladesh plans to get nuclear power by 2015. That's too much. It cannot happen that quickly, and I'll tell you why. Nuclear power is not that simple. It requires a huge infrastructure to procure, manage, and dispose nuclear fuel. It is not something you buy in the open market. Imagine why Iran is facing so much trouble today, because they want to make fuel themselves. There are only 4 countries in the world which will sell fuel: US, UK, Russia, France. Not even China will not sell nuclear fuel. They're not allowed to. So keep that in mind as you go through this issue. Needs highly trained manpower. The issue is proliferation, bomb, fuel security. The other big issue is just economics. The last 3 years, the price of fuel has gone up from $10 a pound to $85 a pound. It's a huge change. And it's not cheap. Today's market rate to build a nuclear plant, 1,000 megawatts, cost is $4,000 to $5,000 a kilowatt. Price of a nuclear power plant. Compare that number to gas-fired combined cycle, under $1,000 a kilowatt. Some numbers. What are the worldwide case? Nuclear power is about 50 years old in the world. There are 439 power plants in the world, 30 countries. This is the capacity. Bangladesh has a research reactor, many countries do. And there are worldwide over 30 power plants under construction. This important slide. What are the countries using nuclear? USA has about 99,000 megawatt nuclear, number 1, France number 2, all the way India number 19. What I want to point out to you, India has 17 nuclear power plants producing about 3,700 megawatt. On the other hand, Switzerland with 5 plants producing 3,200 megawatt. That means what? India has very small plants, and because of fuel problem, they are having difficulty running them. This is the case of nuclear plants under construction in Russia, India. You do not see any European country except France and Finland and Slovakia in this business because they are concerned about nuclear proliferation. This is an important slide telling you what has happened last 15, 16 years. Between 1990 and 2005, look at the countries, our number of units went up, 3, 4, 1, 0 like this. It has not done as we hear in some press that nuclear has been a significant contribution to the energy source. So what can we learn from others? First of all, commercial energy supply in Bangladesh, gas, coal, nuclear, gas and oil we know fairly well. We have strong in-country expertise, doing it for the last 30 years or so, we do very well. Coal, we don't have experience in mining, transportation. Nuclear, I grew up in Dhaka, I live very close to AEC and Monitoring Road. They have been there for the last 40-some years. Nothing to show for now. But the biggest issue is nuclear safety, licensing, and fuel cycle management. If a power company in the US applies to get a license for a nuclear power plant, do you know what is the fee for license application in the US? Any idea? It's $300 million application fee for license. Why that is so high? It takes a lot of time and money to process it, to do the fuel cycle management, all of this issue. There is a Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC, which does that. Very expensive. So, time's up. If Bangladesh wants to do coal, we have to learn from other countries what they do. For example, in the US, the Mining Act of 1977, it has some specific topics. Mining sites to be restored, mitigation plans, funding mechanism to restore abandoned mines, all of that. So unless you go through this process, we cannot open up the mind and let the, well, Allah dekhe, we have to do things ourselves. So this is the problem. Finally, nuclear power concerns. As I said already, if we go nuclear, we depend permanently on a few countries which may not be our friends 20 years from now, number 1. Fuel is unknown. Infrastructure cost is very high because of the high tech. So what I'm suggesting, if Bangladesh is asked by some country to go nuclear, answer would be, we will do that, give us IPP. You build the plant, You run the plant with US standards or French standards. We take no ownership. You bring the fuel, you process the fuel, take it out. Give us the power. We pay you 4 cents a kilowatt hour. See what they say. Okay? So that's it. So we'll take questions later on, but this is the idea. So think about the issues we have to deal with if we want to go nuclear or even coal. Thank you, sir.
Let's welcome our next presenter, Mrs. Sajjad Hussain, COO, Renewable.
First started solar PV back in early 90s. That time it was a dream. It was a dream basically. I was also very young engineer at that time. I joined Olympus in 1992. So now I'll take you to the reality of what is solar PV in our country right now. We have almost 15 years of experience. So I will take you a few slides where there is a huge potential of solar renewable energy in Bangladesh. So I will not go through coal or gas or mining. So let's see our energy scenario and the opportunity of renewable energy in Bangladesh. So you can see from the slides, first slide that only 35% of our population is electrified. So there is a huge potential for us. Rest of the 65% of total population to access for the electricity. And the question is how? So I am standing here to support renewable energy to get the access for rest of the 65% people in our country. So present power scenario in terms of renewable and conventional, you can see that how much we have done in renewable. In terms of percentage, it is less than 1%. I mean, maybe it is around 1.18%. So there is a huge scope for us to harness, renewable energy from sun. So we also need to understand our, energy consumptions in the country. So Bangladesh basically it is a rural-based country. Almost 85% of our population lives in the rural places where we don't have any access to electricity through conventional. So from this slide you can see that almost 21.2 million households they are using kerosene for their lighting. So here is the opportunity for us to convert all that kerosene to renewable energy. I mean, maybe from solar PV or wind or biomass, biogas, whatever. But the opportunity is there. It's used in terms of numbers. From this slide, you can see that the energy user pattern. You see in the urban area, mostly the houses are electrified through electricity, and there is less houses uses kerosene. So if you want to develop our economy at a fast pace, or the GDP if you target at 2 digits, so we have to look into this slide very carefully, because you see the energy is the driving force for our growth, for our economic growth. So we need to highlight our rural based economy, I mean our household, and we have without the energy we can't develop more. So I mean if you look into education, if you look into health, if you look into everything, I mean development activities, it all needs energy. And as a policy, we need to interlink this energy with that all our development work in the rural areas. Let's see our power cell development plan. We call it a master plan. What is our energy need requirement? You see, by 2010, we have a requirement of around 11,000 megawatt. And by 2015, it will exceed 15,000 megawatt, and by 2020, it will go beyond 20,000 megawatt. So is the country is ready for this type of investment? And from the slide, you can see that if you need 10,000 megawatt electricity generations, we need around $14.5 billion. So is our country is ready to invest this sort of investment? I don't see the bright future. Now here is the catch. See, in the rural houses, what is their basic demand? Mostly they want light, because right now they're getting lights mostly from kerosene. It means kerosene lamp or a poopy. It's not bright enough. So the basic demand for light, if you can meet that through renewable, it is going to change the whole rural lifestyle. It is going to change. That will bring, I believe, the lights in the houses, lights from the lights. So that is our dream. So in our master plan on renewable, we also chalked out ourselves that how much we can do from renewable, solar, wind, biomass. There's a new technology is going on, especially in India, biogasifier. We can generate electricity from wood dust, from rice husk. So there's a lot of new technology intervention is required also for this country. And as a policymaker, I see that there are a lot of policymaker people from different sections of life. So we look into a lot of new interventions. So right now we are doing only solar PV, but here we have a scope for wind, for biomass, a lot of new technologies. So I would request here the audience that we should go for new intervention. So as I have 3 more minutes times, so let's see the solar installation in our country. From this graph, from this map, you can see that we have huge potential of solar installation in our country. The average is almost 5 kilowatt hour per day, but for for converting light to solar electricity, we need only 1 kilowatt hour per day. So there's a huge potential of solar PV. We can harness a lot of energy from solar PV. Wind prospect in Bangladesh, you can see from this map that mostly in the coastal area we have some speed, but rest of the country we don't have speed. Right now the turbine require minimum 9 meters per second wind speed, which is not available in our country. So when the technology will improve and we can get a wind turbine in the range of 4 to 5 meters per second, then we have also huge opportunity to use wind as our energy source. Let me take you through a few our work in the field. In the first photo, you can see that solar home system for rural household. We can provide 2 lights to whatever number of lights you want. And the best part of our country is that except solar module, we have the industry to produce the rest of the components. I mean, we have a lot of battery manufacturers who can produce the storage power for the solar. We have a lot of electronics company who can produce all the electronics. So the country is ready. The country is ready to provide rural electrifications through solar PV. So I hope that we are also moving ahead on this direction. So we can also run our laptop, our desktop through solar PV. And the most interesting thing, recently we have installed that the solar street light is very important, especially for the community in the rural houses. So one light can bring 100 people there. So that's maybe the the meeting center for the people there. They can see, they can talk, they can share the knowledge at these places. As well as we can also provide support. So that is a very very big installations in our hilly areas. We have done 10 kilowatt peak solar centralized connection from these systems. And this can be replicated anywhere in the country and within a very short time and also very less investment. Because one thing you have to understand that in solar, we are using lights that consume maximum 6 to 10 watt. Compared to this fluorescent light, this light, it is consuming almost 60 watt. So in terms of consumptions of light in rural areas is very less. And if you can do a project for a long time, I mean at least for 20 years, because solar modules can work more than 20 years, then the lighting from solar PV is much, much cheaper than the kerosene. And we've seen that, and so the support we need from the government, that if the government can provide long-term loan. Right now we are getting from World Bank and other donor agencies, but there is no such type of support from the government that the user can get long-term loan, then the dependency on kerosene and petroleum will be reduced much more in the rural areas, and it is going to help. It is going to help our rural people. Recently, we also installed a hybrid system for telecom. It's very interesting. It is the highest one in this region. It's almost 8 kilowatt peak. This is the system installed with Garmin phone, and they will be running their system almost 16 hours with the solar, and they see that it's financially feasible. Their capex is not much. It is in the range of 6 million Dhaka, and the payback period is only 4 to 5 years. So there is a huge potential. For solar hybrid. Solar hybrid, it means you can put the panels, the generator, the wind, whatever, the micro receiver. So you have options to add on of the energy source. So this will obviously lead us a new dimension of solar PV application in our country. We believe from the private sector that this sort of solutions we are offering to the marketplace obviously will change our view on energy policy. That's the reason we are focusing and we are highlighting this sort of solutions so that we can go furthermore. And see the Medicare in the rural areas, you need also to preserve some vaccine. So that is very important. So right now it's doing a very conventional, very I would say unprofessional way. And the people put vaccine in an ice box and then they move around and then they give away the vaccine. But we can preserve the vaccine in the rural area, also in the solar vaccine refrigerator, and it's very important for our health in the rural areas. So let me show some of our recognitions we got last year. First prize of Ashland Award from UK, our renewable energy work from Renewable. We also got Global Energy Awards for Renewable Project for the year 2004 from the US. So we would like to share this award not only with the Renewable. We would like to share this achievement with all the people in Bangladesh. And today I'm standing here, as I said that 15 years back it was my dream that we provide lights to rural areas. Now I see the reality. More than 200, I think 150,000 households right now is by solar PV, and we are targeting at least by 2015 1.5 billion household. And I believe that if the government come forward with this, with the promotion of this technology, our the installation rates, the electrification, rural electrification through solar PV, it will be much faster. Let me tell you, we have also a national program which is called RERDP, Renewable Energy and Rural Electrification Development Program, under EPCOL. It is financed by World Bank, and this is the fastest program in this region. I think maybe in the globe. Our installations per year is more than 60,000-70,000 home system in our country. So if we get more support from the government, right now we are getting support from the World Bank, but I appeal here that we should get support from the government so that we can intensify our rural electrifications, very faster growth, because I have seen the social impact and the changes in rural houses. It will suddenly change. They become, open-minded from the block-minded. So that's the social change we need for our country, because you see the country is mostly depends on the governments and the remittance. So if you have the lights in rural houses, so you are preparing skilled manpower who can go overseas and work and can send dollar. So if you can integrate that rural electrifications with our development program, or we can align with our income generations. So I believe that Bangladesh in the next 10 to 15 years, it will be a middle income generation country. Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Please welcome Mr. Nasir Ahmed, our panel member.
Honorable Advisor, distinguished secretaries, dear audience, Assalamu alaikum. For time constraint, I will mainly comment on the lectures on renewable energy. About 20 years back, I had seen Dr. Sajid Kamal at a community center in Greater Boston at a function arranged to observe Shahid Diwas, 21st February. There his role was in the area of art and culture. Today in this seminar, he has made a remarkable lecture on renewable energy potential for Bangladesh. Here in his lecture, not only the harsh reality of the global energy scenario, in respect of depleting non-renewable energy sources have been nicely depicted, but also his poetic imagination of a future developed Bangladesh with the proper utilization of untapped energy mine of renewable energy sources have been revealed. We are also thrilled knowing that our pioneering lady, Begum Rokeya, had also had a great vision regarding solar energy utilization almost 100 years ago. Now we come to the reality of Bangladesh today. Natural gas is the major source of commercial energy in Bangladesh. The country has a proven and probable gas reserve of about 20.5 trillion cubic feet, out of which around 6.5 trillion cubic feet has already been consumed. And the remaining reserve is 14 TCF. The present average natural gas consumption in the country is around 1750 mmCFD. Energy experts now infer that if there is no further discovery of natural gas in Bangladesh, then by 2015 we will be in serious crisis. Meanwhile, we will be trying to explore in offshore areas and rest of the blocks in the land area, but success is uncertain. Yes, we have a viable alternative. We have also coal with recoverable reserve of 724 million tons, which is equivalent to about 19.02 TCF of natural gas. Our coal is of excellent quality with high heating value of 11,000 BTU per pound, but as on today, we could not exploit our coal properly. At present, underground mining has been started at Boropukuria with a meager production capacity of 1 million ton per annum. Open cut system of mining may be more fruitful in our coal fields, but there are other equations involved regarding environment, displacement of people, etc. Hopefully, our new coal policy is taking due consideration of all these relevant factors. But exploitation of our coal to solve our energy requirement seems to be a lengthy process. It is known that urbanization leads to a very high increase of the energy use. A recent analysis shows that a 1% increase in the per capita GNP leads to an equal around a 1.03% increase in the energy consumption. An increase in the urban population by 1% increases the energy consumption by 2.2%. In Bangladesh, now only 20% population lives in the urban areas. And in the coming years, rapid industrialization is a must for our survival and success. Thus, we estimate at least 10% growth rate in the demand of energy per year. In this context, we must make well-concerted efforts in the utilization of our renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, geothermal, biomass, etc. for our survival and economic uplift. In the presentations, application of renewable energy technologies such as photovoltaic, wind turbines, hydroelectric generators, solar thermal systems, biogas plants and solar cookers for different purposes have been nicely covered. At this age of rapid depletion of conventional fuels, oil, natural gas, coal, etc., and skyrocketing energy prices, we must take up more projects utilizing our renewable energy sources. We are aware that some remarkable projects have been and are being completed in Bangladesh in this respect. But compared to our energy demand, this progress is so far is still insignificant, less than 1% of the total commercial energy usage. Low availability of commercial energy is a major constraint to any country's economic development. Bangladesh's per capita energy consumption is only 240 kilogram oil equivalent, which is one of the lowest in the world. Only 30% of our people in the country have access to electricity. An annual per capita electricity consumption is around 120 kilowatt hour. And only 10% of the people have access to indigenous natural gas. We know that 70% of our total commercial energy is provided by natural gas, with the remainder provided by imported oil, coal, and hydropower. In this harsh scenario, we must drastically switch towards renewable energy. The untapped energy mine. The presentation matters should not only remain as food for thought for us. Immediate actions are required, and well-coordinated actions should be there with participation of public and private sector, foreign direct investment, and non-resident Bangladeshis. Again, many thanks to Dr. Sajid Kamal, Dr. Saifur Rahman, and Mr. Sajjad Hussain for giving their timely and effective lectures. Thank you very much.
Please welcome our special guest, Dr. Faisal Kabir Khan, Secretary, Ministry of Powers.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Advisor, my colleague Energy Secretary, distinguished presenter, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I'll come straight to the point. I almost agree with Mr. Sajid Kamal. Why almost? Because I couldn't agree with his remarks regarding global moratorium on non-renewable energy use, and also think of non-renewable energy sources as transitional fuel only, because I personally believe that we really have to walk on two legs. We need to rely on both renewable and non-renewable resources. Now, it also happens that in my earlier incarnation, I was involved with the development of renewable energy when I was working at EDCOL. Yes, if you think in terms of availability of sunlight in Bangladesh, of course it has enormous prospects. No one would deny that. But there are, as it always happens, there is a difference between the lip and the cup. So unless that happens, you really cannot benefit from anything. As we all know, this what you call solar photovoltaic or this renewable technology started in the 60s with the yuppie generation as an alternative lifestyle, what you call revolting against the existing modes. And remember that at those times, the oil was plenty and also the price was cheap. There was no reason to think of renewable energy or solar photovoltaic as an alternative system. The main problem with solar energy is that we must know that this produces DC electricity. Of course, you could convert this into, using an inverter, you could convert it into AC electricity, but then it adds to the cost. The other reason that this, I'll just focus on the solar photovoltaic, where I have some limited knowledge, is that it is very, very expensive. And there are good reasons why this is expensive. because this what you call nowadays when the oil prices have come above what you call $100 a barrel, now everybody is thinking about renewables, talking loudly about renewables. But so far, renewables were sort of they are out of the mainstream. The reason that the solar technology is very expensive is because there has not been much investments. Because if you compare the trillions of dollars that gone into investment in research and investment of hydrocarbon, then if you had even a fraction of that, even 1/10 of that invested in the renewable energy technology, then we would not be here where we are now. In fact, things have gone from bad to worse from Bangladesh's perspective. When we started at ITCOL, we started this renewable energy program in 2002. Then this per watt peak was something like about $3. Now, because these renewable energy technologies are being subsidized in the European countries, the prices, demand has gone up, outstripping the supply. As a result, the prices have gone up, and now I hear that the prices are more close to in fact, it was coming down actually, because the renewable energy, initially when the European countries were encouraging RET technologies, then actually prices were coming down. So it came down to very close to $3.01 or so. So actually it was high, it was $6-7, then it came down to $3 or so, and then now it is creeping up again. Now it has come to what you call about $4 per watt peak. But please understand that in Bangladesh, even if it is expensive, we have to use renewable energy technology. There is a more fundamental justification for us. The reason is that renewable energy remains to be the only alternative for providing electricity in remote rural areas in Bangladesh. When I used to work at ITCOL, people used to ask me, what is the per kilowatt generation cost of electricity using solar photovoltaic technology? We all know that is very, very high, 20-25 Dhaka. But so when people would ask me that kind of question, I would be embarrassed to give such a high cost of generation of electricity. I would ask them an alternative question. What is the cost of keeping somebody in darkness of candlelight or lamps for 50 years? You give me that price, then I'm going to give the price of generation cost per kilowatt hour of electricity. So in Bangladesh, renewable energy technology is important for this reason, because we cannot, whether it is gas-based or whether it is coal-based, no matter what it is based, renewable energy with a grid-based, we cannot afford to have grid-based expansion. So if we have to reach government's target of reaching electricity by 2020 to all the citizens, and also our intermediate target of reaching electricity to 60% of our population by 2010, then we have to rely on renewable energy, particularly solar photovoltaic technology. And then Mr. Sajjad has mentioned that there is no support from the government. That is not at all true, because please understand that the government borrowed the money from the World Bank, it has to repay, it has loan. So whatever the subsidy that is given under the RERDP program is actually government's money. So the government is putting in a lot of money in development of renewable energy technology, particularly solar. Government is also providing very low-cost financing. I think the NGOs that have done a very wonderful job using this, they are getting a 10-year loan at 5%, which is way below the market cost. And that is the underlying reason why Bangladesh's solar energy program is the fastest growing solar energy program anywhere in the world. So we have to. So please understand the government remains committed. And our target is currently we have about 10 megawatt electricity generation from renewable energy sources, and by 2010 we would like to see this go up to 50 megawatt at least, if not 100 megawatt. I didn't have time. I would like to congratulate Mr. Sajid Kamal for a very well-written paper. I read his paper. Unfortunately, I didn't receive the paper by Mr. Saifur Rahman, and also he has talked about subjects that falls more in the domain of my colleague, Mr. Mohsin. I'm sure he'll talk about that. But I have one question to ask. Actually, one question and then one suggestion for Professor Rahman. My first question is, okay, in Germany you could go open pit mining because there is nothing in the neighborhood. But as far as we know, there are in India, in Calcutta, where habitation is quite similar like Bangladesh, or even in China, which is again another densely populated country, do they have open pit mining, and how do they manage that? So that's more one question. And then the other question that other suggestion that I would like to emphasize from the viewpoint of the power division of the importance of port. So please understand there is a tremendous imbalance between the electricity generation in two sides of the country, in the eastern side and the western side. And because of this, if you have to take electricity produced in the eastern grid to the western side, then there is loss of voltage, and our irrigation suffers as a result of this. So, of course, we have to think about the mitigating measures. We have to really decide whether we should use open pit mining or leaf shaft mining. Those are all valid questions, but there should not be any doubt in the minds of any one of us that we have to develop these resources so that the country benefits as a result of this, and then we have to derive the maximum benefit out of this. Because this energy is not related to what you call powering or giving air conditioning or lighting, but it is related to agriculture even without, you see, our agriculture is rain-fed agriculture. Where this irrigation season is coming, the energy advisor and our now main concern is how to provide electricity to the farmer so that the post-seeder recovery could be achieved through a good crop this year. With these comments, I would like to congratulate both the speakers and the panelists, and thank the association for inviting me. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite our special guest, Mr. Muhammad Mohsin, Secretary, Ministry of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources Division.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Of course, before I just start my deliberation, maybe I should just clarify a little bit about the ministry. The name of the ministry is Ministry of Power, Energy and Mineral Resources, and there are two divisions, and there are two secretaries. One is looking after the power side, called Power Division Secretary, and the other is Energy and Mineral Resources Division, and I am in charge of that. So, in fact, my colleague, Dr. Fazil Kabir, has covered the renewable energy side, which falls within his domain though. But please bear with me, I have written text. If you kindly allow me, I would like to follow that. Is that all right? Okay. So, Mr. Moderator, Honorable Chief Guest, Honorable Special Guest, distinguished keynote speakers, Honorable panelists, dear participants, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here on this unique occasion of an unusual gathering of Bangladeshi scholars. Scholars Bangladesh can claim all the credit for arranging the first NRB conference in Bangladesh. A significant number of Bangladeshi scholars and professionals reside all over the world. According to Scholars Bangladesh, before 1973, more than 90% of our scholars who were educated and trained abroad came back home. However, since 1973, the rate has plummeted, currently lying somewhere between 5 to 10%. Moreover, a huge number of our brilliant scholars are deserting the country every year. In the process, we are losing our brilliant minds, and the country is being deprived of their valuable services. It could be one of the main causes of our backwardness. Some of us thought, though, we had lost them forever, and perhaps wrongly perceived that they had forgotten our country and us. This conference, however, gives us the hope that our scholars are indeed eager to come back to serve our motherland. Today, two of our non-resident Bangladeshi scholars, Dr. Sajid Kamal and Dr. Saifur Rahman, have presented two riveting research papers on the energy sector. I sincerely thank them for their ingenious ideas and brilliant presentations. We have also heard about something about solar energy from the Rema Flo's representative here. I also thank him for his presentation. Energy is a basic means of survival. Our current heavy dependency on fossil fuel cannot be sustained for long due to limitation of reserve, vis-a-vis the growing demand of power. As an imperative, we have to find the alternatives. In this regard, Dr. Sajid Kamal has shown us potential alternatives, while Dr. Saifur Rahman has put forward several strategies for formulating correct policies, keeping in view the existing resource position. Considering the importance of energy in development, Government of Bangladesh formulated National Energy Policy in January 1996. It was aimed at providing energy for sustainable economic growth, meeting the energy needs of different areas and socio-economic groups, ensuring optimum development of all energy sources, enabling sustainable operation of energy utilities, and emphasizing rational use of energy. The goal of NEP was also to ensure environmentally sound sustainable energy development and encourage public and private sector participation in the development and management of the energy sector. Since the formulation of the policy, Bangladesh has made significant progress in the energy sector. Gas production has almost doubled, an NGL plant has been established, a coal mine has been developed to provide power to a 250 megawatt power plant, gas and power sector master plans have been prepared, and an energy regulatory commission has been set up. Further, significant reduction in system loss in both gas and power sectors has been achieved. Conversion of biomass through modern technology is being done, and Bangladesh Nuclear Power Action Plan has been formulated. Natural gas, the only indigenous non-renewable energy source, constitutes more than 70% of the commercial energy use in Bangladesh. Of course, I wanted to share with you some of the figures, but then my colleague said that he is already fed up with listening to all those figures. But then it's my privilege that I should reiterate that. So we have a recoverable, that is proven, gas reserve of approximately 15.18 trillion cubic feet TCF. Until August 2007, some 7.05 TCF have been produced, leaving a remaining reserve of 8.13 TCF. Given the rising demand, this reserve may be sufficient up to 2011. I repeat, 2011. However, if the probable reserve of 5.28 TCF can be converted into proven reserve, then this will last out until 2015. Furthermore, if both probable and possible reserve, which is about 13.4 TCF, can be converted into proven reserve, then it may be sufficient up to 2019. If the projected exploration ventures do not yield significant results, or existing gas fields fail to prove currently estimated reserve, the deficit might be felt earlier. We need about 20 to 25 TCF additional gas by 2025 to attain and maintain a 7% GDP growth. About $8 billion need to be invested to find and develop the required reserves to meet the 2P supply shortfall. The government is pulling out all the stops to increase gas reserves. Accordingly, it is contemplating floating offshore PSC bidding very soon. The government has also taken some important projects in exploration, production and distribution. Currently, 17 out of 23 gas fields are in operation, producing about 1,700 million cubic feet per day. 4 transnational and 3 national companies are working in this sector. Over the last decade, gas consumption has been increasing at an average rate of 8% per annum. Major consumers of gas are the power plants and the fertilizer factories. So far, we have discovered 5 coal deposits with proven reserve of about 2,350 million tons. I think Dr. Saifur Rahman has highlighted that though. And the proven plus probable reserve of about 3,450 million tons. Considering an estimated requirement of 36 million metric tons of coal a year, the proven plus probable reserves are assumed to be sufficient for 65 years and 96 years respectively. The quality of our coal is good and it contains very low sulfur. I think the panelist has already mentioned that. And we have mentioned that one coal field has already been operating since 2005. Soon we are expecting a coal policy which will address the concerns surrounding extraction of coal. Since many countries have wide experience in coal mining, Bangladesh can possibly benefit from their experience through non-resident Bangladeshis. There are important aspects like environmental conservation, wastewater disposal, air quality maintenance, etc., on which valuable experience can be drawn from them. Bangladesh imports about 1.2 million metric tons of crude oil, along with 2.6 million metric tons of refined petroleum products per annum. Locally, liquid fuels in terms of condensate and other liquid products are also extracted from different gas fields. Major consumer of liquid fuel is transport sector. Government is considering updating the energy policy, keeping in view some major issues including giving stress on hydrocarbon exploration, reducing gas dependency, and introducing nuclear energy within the shortest possible time. Even though Dr. Saifur Rahman has expressed pessimism about the introduction of nuclear energy. For this purpose, some strategic goals will be followed, focusing on the following: providing a sustainable and balanced energy supply, promoting rational use of energy, improving sector management and performance, increasing private sector participation and investment, reducing inter-regional disparity between East Zone and West Zone in particular, and creating regional energy markets. These are briefly some of the main features of our energy sector. We know it will be hard to succeed in attaining the minimum level of energy security unless we make a special drive to give it the force of a religion fueled by government funding. In addition, the input by the NRB scholars to the formulation of appropriate policies can be of immense assistance. I am grateful to you all for your patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Now we will accept some questions. Questions are only for the presenters and no political questions, please.
Very good presentations by three speakers. And to practically ask for some of the basic questions, because this is an NRB conference and we have to see that our NRBs, who are the pioneers of technology, can give us more, because they are sitting just at the point of what are the latest research. Renewable energy is definitely a very good option for our renewable resources. But we have seen is only that about 10 megawatts that have been achieved compared to what the 5,000. When we are talking about 5,000 to 10,000 megawatts, is only about 10 megawatts. This is just 0.2%. Well, it is definitely contributing to the remote areas. But we need electricity for our industrialization, for our more productive orientation, also increasing our GDP. So we shouldn't forget what are the value of grid level electricity. And for that matter, of course, on the renewable energy, no discussion was made. We are on what are the latest cutting technology on solar. In fact, there is a recent research. I would ask Dr. Saifur Rahman, because he is in Virginia Tech. You must be knowing that the nanotechnology can give a new frontier to solar system, and that is direct from solar to electricity. That is another, it's a new, entire new process. That will make the entire consumption, what the Power Secretary has mentioned, it will drastically reduce the whole cost. But definitely, maybe that it will take some more time, but we have to continue the efforts. And in Bangladesh, the success in solar, it is due to the financial mechanism. Technology is available, but it is a very unique financial mechanism and certain subsidy that it has made it successful. But definitely, this new front technology, we have to work it out. But on the renewable, we didn't discuss anything about how we can expand at least a straight 100 megawatt power generation in Kapte factory. I have told time and again, and in fact I have proposed for that now we have only 250 megawatt hydropower generation. We can straightly increase with 2 units, 50, and that can give 100 megawatt power without raising a single inch of our existing dam and any spillway capacity. I would rather request the Honorable Advisor to kindly look into, because even that the Japan's, they backed out, but there are other donors can come, or even government can fund it through the private sector finance. But also now coming to one of the major problem of our energy resources. In the entire Western zone, we have no, practically no energy base there, and coal is the only energy resources available. And of course, Dr. Sarfaraman has mentioned about its environmental problem, but there are ways in, even just across our border, in Farakka, there is a power plant, that is a 2,000 megawatt coal-fired power plant. Of course, there are many such large power plants based on coal. We also understand the carbon emission, but now there is so much of clean coal technologies available. There is so much of environmental experiences available. We have also Bangladesh environmental law. We can definitely look into, and also because that is the governmental responsibility. And also on the other hand, we have a very unique rehabilitation program of the Jamuna Beach project that can make substantial solution to it. The last point I must mention, late Dr. Anwar Hussain, the previous chairman of Bangladesh Atomic Energy Commission, one of his major observations is very often not mentioned. He asked for 2 nuclear power plants in Bangladesh. So mostly people talk about Rupur. Rupur is as the central, but he talked about one more power plant in Mangla due to 2 reasons. Because the entire that zone has no electricity and no water. You know that nuclear power plant can also generate enormous water because that is a desalination process. So I must mention that what Dr. Anwar Hussain has mentioned, maybe that Mangla could be more priority than Rupur, because Rupur at the heartland, and that land we can utilize on a much better profitability. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Shan Siddiqui. I'm an energy firm in the US and would love to invest in Bangladesh in the energy sector. I guess some of the problems we see is essentially like today the world price for oil and natural gas is pretty high, and that does make renewable biofuels like biodiesel viable actually. The problem we have in investing in Bangladesh is the subsidies. The fact that oil price, if you sell it retail in Bangladesh, you won't get those world market prices. So our option is either exporting, in which case you get taxed and so on. So the question there is Bangladesh doing anything to level the playing field? If you're going to subsidize natural gas and oil, are you going to give incentives for biofuel development, some sort of tax credits or even something to level the playing field? Right now it's not level. The second issue in power is, of course, theft and other. That makes it impossible for us to compete on the end user side to bring them solutions to their energy problems. And I was wondering in this administration whether you were aggressively looking at the AMR automatic meter reading technologies that would eliminate that problem. And we have a lot of investors in the US who would be very willing to invest in the AMR technology and bring it to US. So those are my 2 questions. And just as a note to the Power Secretary, renewables is not really a marginal technology, because if you look at Brazil, ethanol is now very mainstream, and it's because of the price of oil. Thank you.
Okay, about investment in Bangladesh power sector and then equalizing what you call this opportunities for this petroleum and gas prices with the ethanol prices that they're going to subsidize. I think this is the question about the pricing, energy pricing. I leave this to the energy advisor because he is. It is more appropriate for him to talk about it. About this investment in power sector, like for example, I mentioned that with this RET technology, where you could invest. You see, one of the problems, in addition to the high cost, there is another problem with the RET technology, particularly solar technology, is the efficiency of the solar cells. These are about 15 to 18%. If somehow this could be raised to, let's say, even 50%, then you have 3 times the energy from it. So this is one area where the NRB and our research institutions could investigate. The other thing we have been trying to actively, promote is setting up of a solar panel assembly plant. You know, this has 3 parts. They have this ingots, then from ingots you make this wafers, and then you just put them in a box and then it comes in a solar panel. But these are very bulky panels imported from abroad. You know, there are a lot of shipping costs involved. So at IFCOL, in fact, the government was even willing to subsidize if you were to set up a 5 to 10 megawatt annual production capacity for just assembly of solar panels. It is a very easy technology. We have seen this. This is just, in fact, like our garment industry. You're just putting the things together and then putting them in a nice metal packing. Now about this issue of theft, power theft, we are actually actively, recently we have implemented projects, prepaid meters, and also we are now introducing remote metering for large industrial consumers. So we are indeed looking at technology. In fact, we have issued a number of tenders, for purchase of these remote meters and then also prepaid meters and this kind of technology, where you don't have to go to the household to read your meters. So we are pursuing all those efforts. So I will leave the question regarding the energy pricing to the Honorable Advisor.
I thank the organizer of this NRB conference for organizing such a engaging forum for the NRBs and the elite panel that they have assembled in here. My name is Syed Islam and I'm a professor of electrical engineering, and I direct a Center for Renewable Energy and Sustainable Technology, Australia. My observation is that the panelists have missed on one point. They have mentioned on the potential for renewable energy in Bangladesh and what difference renewable energy can make to the development in the energy sector of this country. And also we have heard the argument particularly from Professor Rahman in terms of clean coal technology. I think that's what he was alluding to, and also perhaps nuclear energy. I think that from what I have seen from Mr. Sajjad Hossain's presentation, the wind energy profile regime in Bangladesh is not favorable. And I think we at this stage we do not have potential for significant energy penetration into our grid. If we set ourselves any target of a sizable renewable energy penetration, I think it has to come probably from other sectors, PV and biomass and those sort of things. PV is very expensive, as you have mentioned. But I would like to stress on one particular topic, and that is the issue of demand-side management and energy efficiency. I think those two can play a significant role in terms of conservation of energy and particularly helping us in our energy sector. 50 megawatts of PV. I think if you look at the investment and taking that 5,000 megawatt is our installed capacity, 1% of that is 50 megawatt. I think raising awareness and significant education of Bangladeshis in terms of demand-side management and energy efficiency could achieve many more than 50 megawatts. I think the other thing is, and that's where I will end, I'm out of the time. I think we can use PV. PV, all those PV applications you mentioned is DC connected. They can give a refrigeration, they can give a light and that sort of thing. But if you are looking at significant penetration of renewable energy into the grid, it got to be grid connected PV. And grid connected PV presents a lot of challenges and a lot of research opportunities for people like us as well. But I think it's a huge issue. The power electronics in that is tremendously challenging. I think things like, for example, why not use the photovoltaic or probably solar thermal technology in terms of feed water heater for the boiler in preheating of that. That would improve our cogeneration and significant efficiency for our steam power plant. I think with that I will end. I think we should not only just see the renewable as our potential, but also explore all alternatives. Thanks.
Good afternoon, I'm Rashid Rahman. I'm a project consultant in Central and West Africa. My question would be for Mr. Sajjad and Mr. Tapan Chowdhury. We all know the major portion of electricity consumption is in the urban area, and it is a burden to the government. And I'm sure, since the major consumer is the urban people, what sort of contribution they are making? Is it feasible to have solar photovoltaic applied to the apartments in Dhaka, in Chittagong, so that the cost can be adjusted to the apartments in the skyrocketing price of the apartment? And do we have any processes or policies applied or plans to be applied in the coming days in Dhaka or across Bangladesh? Thank you.
Your questions to which presenter?
My question was to Rahim Afroz for the feasibility of the panels to at least light up the apartments or houses, and to Mr. Tapan Chowdhury, do we have any policies or processes of such kind? Thank you.
The answer to your question is that solar PV for the buildings, right? You have a lot of installation in Germany and Japan, and there they have almost 80% subsidy, and almost the cost of generations is not paying by the users. It's almost 80% from the government. So cost of electricity generations from PV is obviously much higher than the conventional generations. Okay, at least 20 times. So it's not feasible for us, to provide solutions which is much costlier than conventionals. And you have to understand also the demand side of consumers. For our rural people, 1 6-watt light is good enough for 40 hours lighting. But in urban area, we used to use a lot of lumens, lights. So for us, we need 400 to 500 lumens for a 10 feet by 10 feet size of a room. But in rural areas, they need only 50 lumens. So that's also very important, to design our solutions for the urban people in case of lights. So I would say that right now, from the commercial point of view, it's not feasible financially. Thanks.
Dr. Khurshidul Islam. I am the Senior Advisor of German Development Cooperation in Bangladesh. So like many of you, I have been long in NRB, almost 14 years in Germany, where I was trained and educated, came back, and I am basically an implementation man. I place less importance on all those theoretical aspects. I am more for implementation, because that is done quite less in this country and more is talked about. I implemented the first solar pilot project in a larger scale, 62 kilowatt with the French in 3 river islands of North Sindhi in Bangladesh. And since then, I have been fighting on like a soldier in the renewable sector. You would be astonished to hear. My basic education had been in oil and gas. I'm basically a PhD in petroleum engineering and have done a patent on catalyst development for producing high-octane fuels. But in 1973, with the inception of this oil embargo in the Middle East, I saw how the Western nations were going down their knees and started this huge R&D, and the oil companies themselves, the Seven Sisters. America is one of the few countries who are the top in the oil and gas, and they have believed less in renewable energy. And being an oil man, when I saw that when the Seven Sisters do something, invest billions of dollars into it, there is the future. Very recently, if you go to the internet, you will be finding that in Abu Dhabi, the Future Energy Conference will be held, where the prospects of solar, biomass and biogas could be coming up. From GTZ, we have undertaken promotion in Bangladesh of 18 projects, including promotion of renewables like biogas, solar, because these are the two areas where we should very seriously look into. And not only that, we should set up demonstration projects, and we are calling them not pilot projects, as flagship projects. You set up a flagship, rest of the people see that and they follow, because seeing is believing. Hundreds of differential equations, few thousands of integral calculations, and few thousands of seminars can't achieve what these demonstration projects can achieve. And I congratulate Sajid Kamal, who showed the way many years back, long before I came to the field. he had been, like a pioneer, had been carrying the panels, going from village to village and demonstrating it to the people, bringing the technology to the doorstep of the people. We have initiated improved cook stoves. Almost 24 million of them are needed, where 50% of the biomass can be saved. Recently I was in China visiting 2 or 3 plants who are producing from biomass the electricity, electric power. The rice mills can be made independent of power, and we have calculated that we can save almost 100 megawatts from the grid. Very recently in Faridpur, we have financed a poultry farm who are producing, and also Mr. Kamusab Siddiqui from LGD, when he was the chief engineer LGD, he initiated this electricity generation from biogas. So all those projects. So my request to NRBs would be, please come forward with something concrete, something where we can help, we can work together jointly and produce things in a physical way, towards physical implementation. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, within half an hour we will have to have another. We're going to have another seminar in the same room, so we will have to wrap it up. So, without further delay, I would like to request our honorable advisor, Mr. Tapan Chowdhury, to say a few words.
আসলে এই ধরনের আড়াই ঘন্টা বোধহয় is a very short time. I suppose if you would like time, I'm sure that you have a lot of questions, you have a lot of observations. But since the time is short, we will need to move ahead. Keynote presenter Dr. Sajid Kamal and Professor Saifur Rahman, my colleagues, distinguished panelists, distinguished scholars, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I'm immensely pleased to be present here among all the ingenious group of scholars in this very special seminar. This seminar is particularly relevant because of the prevailing energy crisis, where people are seeking better options for energy source. We all know that the fact that most of the source of energy are non-renewable, which are now about to be depleted. Scientific research continuously emphasizes on the sustainability of these energy sources. It has been proved that non-renewable energy sources are not environment friendly. Energy policy, energy security, and untapped renewable energy resources and technology are topics of this session. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight some of the salient features and steps taken by our government in this sector. The government of Bangladesh is committed to overall development energy and power sector, which includes exploration of indigenous natural gas, hydropower, survey of coal, establishment of petroleum refining facility with distribution system, and establishment of power generation plants with networks for transmission and distribution of electricity by encouraging public and private sector participation in the development and management of the energy and power sector. Some necessary policies and acts also have into force recently, which includes Energy Regulatory Commission Act 2003, National Energy Policy, NGL plant established at Koilastila, Power Sector Master Plan, and so on. Ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh, like other developing countries, solely dependent on the non-renewable energy source. Presently, natural gas is only significant source of commercial energy in Bangladesh. About 87% of the power generation capacity in the country is gas-based, 5.5% is imported oil, 5% is coal, and 2.5% hydro-based. Coal-based power plant at Borapukre in the northwest region of Bangladesh, the first coal-based 125 megawatt power plant in Bangladesh. There are also very good prospects of extraction of coal from a nearby coal deposit at Fulbari and possibly elsewhere in the region. Let me give you an overview of Bangladesh power sector. Under Article 16 of the Constitution of Bangladesh, it is imperative for the government to work for rural electrification. Therefore, providing access to affordable and reliable
electricity to all citizens by 2020 is a befitting national goal of the government of Bangladesh. At present, electricity coverage in Bangladesh is only 43%, and per capita electricity generation is about 165 megawatt, one of the lowest in the world. To maintain a sharper focus, the government has now set a target of providing electricity to 60% of the population by 2010. This would require raising installed generation capacity from 5,269 megawatt to 8,000 megawatt using non-renewable resources, 10 megawatt to 50 megawatt using renewable resources. Commensurate expansion and upgrading of transmission and distribution infrastructure would also be needed. 2,100 kilometers transmission and 50,000 kilometer distribution lines will have to be constructed for evacuation and distribution of power. Recognizing priority of the power sector, the government has increased annual development program ADB allocation from 3,200 crore in the financial year 2007 to 3,800 crore in the financial year 2008. Power system master plan up to 2025 has been prepared and approved by the government in April 2007. PSMP suggested 17,700 megawatt new capacity addition will be required to meet 19,312 megawatt demand in 2025. Capital investment requirement for generation only will be about US $10.2 billion. Base, high and low growth scenarios have been studied. Also, limited gas scenario with domestic and imported coal has been examined. Distinguished scholars, Bangladesh also keen to diversify its energy sources and stepping ahead towards a renewable source of energy. At present, it is established that renewable source of power generation is more than 10 megawatt. Mostly solar power is contributing about 9 megawatt. IPCOL has supported NGOs in the installation of solar home systems in more than 150,000 households and business, and thereby provided eco-friendly electricity to nearly 1 million of beneficiaries in remote rural areas. In addition, it has also supported a private entrepreneur to install a 250 kilowatt biomass power plant. BPDP installed 2 megawatt wind turbine as a pilot project. Contribution from the private sector is encouraging, and government is committed to involve private sector for further growth in this field. Government is also considering establishing a Sustainable Energy Development Agency, SERA, to facilitate expansion of renewable energy in private and public sector. The present renewable energy policy targets 5% of the total power demand by 2010 and 10% by 2020. It is correct to say that Bangladesh is endowed with abundant renewable source of energy, as we have heard from our keynotes presenter. Biomass, solar and wind are the major renewable energy sources in Bangladesh. We have adequate sunlight all the year round. With a good to excellent solar resource available, there is a high potential for solar photovoltaic within an overall rural electrification program. Micro hydro and mini hydro have limited application in Bangladesh. We have only one hydropower plant in Kaptai installed in 1960s and producing 1,000 gigawatt power per year. More assessment for hydropower have to be carried out in identify potential sites. If we can use all our renewable resource of energy, we will be able to overcome the current energy crisis. It is a privilege for me to talk in front of Bangladeshi non-resident scholars today who are really doing well in their respective fields. Thanks to the Solar Bangladesh Authority for organizing such an event with an intent to build a bridge between the scholars and professionals at home and abroad. I hope this initiative would be a milestone for the development of renewable energy plants in Bangladesh. We'll have both scholastic and material assistance from the scholars present in this house. I appreciate your kind contribution for the sustainable power sector development on Bangladesh. Before I conclude, I would like to share with you about an initiative the government has taken for a 450 megawatt power plant either in Varamara or in Meghnaghat 2. The model is going to be like that we are talking about a small government participation and there's a bankers consortium who are going to take power, and we are also going to the capital market, where a substantial, the account will be reserved for the non-resident Bangladeshi investors, and also will be inviting the private participation, and thereby we think that we will be able to launch a 450 megawatt power plant, and we don't have to depend on all the IPPs that currently we have in the country. And I think this is going to be a very good model. Not that for all our projects we'll have to depend on the funds either from World Bank or for ADB. We can do it on our own. And I think the non-resident Bangladeshis who are really looking for the opportunities to invest in Bangladesh, this could be a real good opportunity for you gentlemen present here. Thank you all for your kind questions hearing and for your contribution. A couple of points that you mentioned, and I would like to share also with you. There are a couple of issues that I would want to like to bring it to your attention, and I would only hope that many of us, আমরা অনেক সময় বলি যে we talk about the power sector, the gas and all, and my experience is a little bit different because আমি কিন্তু ওই পাশের থেকে I come from a private sector background. Now I'm with the government. আমার শুনলে খুব খারাপ লাগে যখন we all talk about the common people. In fact, the 60% of the power is consumed by the industrial sector. And I'm ashamed to say that. If you look at the power sector, and when I look at this, the bills, which is there for years together, crores of Dhaka have gone to the court, gone for the writ petition, and not paying this crores of Dhaka electricity bill for years together. And how do you handle that? We are talking about the poor people, jara hoy je ki line up na book kore naye, and we present that as a big problem, which are not. Same, apne gas sector ekই কথা. And for everything, আমরা মনে করি যে government has a, একটা magic কোনো lamp আছে, কোনো solution আছে, that we're going to solve the problem just like that. Unless, and you'll be surprised, most of them, they're the celebrity in the society, they're the leader in the community, and they're the one, they are the biggest defaulter. How do you address this problem? আপনি একটু আগে বলেছিলেন 2011 এর মধ্যে গ্যাস হয়ে যাচ্ছে। I will be very happy. I don't want to use our coal যে কোথায় ফুলবাড়িতে আছে, but somebody has to give me a solution. আর কয়দিন পরে আপনার যখন ইরিগেশন চালু হতে যাচ্ছে, we are talking about 3,500, 3,600, this megawatt power এর কথা আমরা বলছি। Years together. এই প্ল্যান্টগুলো আপনি many of us here, you are in the power sector, আপনারা জানেন, this plant কোনো কোন কাজ করা হয়নি এগুলো। Only some of these কিছু কি বলে আপনার মেইনটেনেন্স কিছু করে it's been going there for years together. We are all talking about generation, new generation, because the money is there. You go for a new generation because the money is there. What about the distribution? What about the transmission? How many of us we know that recently এতবার power grid fail করলো? What was the problem? যখনই মানুষ থাকে না তখন people like me, যারা lay person, যারা আপনাদের মতন ইঞ্জিনিয়ার্স, আমরা মনে করি পাওয়ার যাওয়া মানে হচ্ছে বোধহয় কি লোডশেডিং হয়ে গেছে। Sometimes generation also could be a problem just because আমাদের লাইন ক্যারি করতে পারেন না। আপনার distribution a problem, আপনার transmission a problem. Then unless we address this, and this is not possible overnight. So আমরা slowly we are addressing this. The problem is there in the energy sector also. To deal with number of companies, we have not been paying them. We have তাদের সঙ্গে we have litigation with them for years together, and we are talking about কোথা থেকে আসবে। You understand যে আপনি তো যে কোনো জায়গায় আপনি কোর্ট কাছারি করে তো আর কোনোদিন ব্যবসা করা যায় না। So এখন কোনো মতে হাত যায় Chinese ওই দিস the বড় প্রক্রিয়া, the plan to have, we are supposed to get every day, আপনার একটু আগে বলছেন we are supposed to get yearly 1 million ton. We are not getting 20% of it. We are supposed to run 125 megawatt per 2 power plants we are supposed to run. We can't run more than one because we do not have enough coal for that. That is the underground mine. I don't know. I mean, you are expert. Whether it's underground or an open pit is good for. I mean, I don't care. I need coal to run this power plant. Somebody has to, or somebody has to tell me, "Kotate, amra gorib manush ekhane apnar tar irrigation jer power pabe." But we are all, এরকম ধরনের বহুত সেমিনার হচ্ছে, বহুত কিছু হচ্ছে, but problems, we are not, and nobody wants to address these issues because কেউ কিছু বলে তখন না, what is your interest? Why do you want to go into that? Why do you want to go for it? This is everybody is trying to play safe. Everybody is trying to play safe. So what is my headache? Because I'm here for a couple of months and I want to finish my day. I don't want to go into any controversy. So just say everybody. That's what happened in last 10 years, last 15 years. And this has been going on for years together. So I want that, people like you, Jarapne, you're experts in this field. Please give us a solution. Please tell us what we need to do. Based on your recommendation, because you are the experts in this field, and we want a specific recommendation you can. Each of the policy there is no specific recommendation. You are talking about a coal policy, there is no specific recommendation. So again we are trying to delay the whole thing. Now, what you do? So unless we need a very, very specific recommendation. Either we go for it or we say not fine, thank you very much and let's not waste our time. Because এগুলো করে হচ্ছে কি বারবার because as an investor, they want a decision. They want a decision. I want to go for it or again. আমি জানি many of my friends, they came back to the country, they want to invest their money, they want to go into start a project and thank you very much. তোমরা অনেক দেশে হয়েছে, তোমরা বহু 40-50 বছর ব্যবসা করছো, so you're all set here. আমাদের জন্য এটা হবে না ভাই, so thank you. Allah Hafiz, good hour, they have all gone back. We don't want it to happen. I truly appreciate you have gone back, you have come back here, you have arranged this, the non-resident Bangladeshi conference, and I know today it's a different scenario. With your support, we can achieve it. And I hope before you conclude, this conference, tomorrow, the Honorable Chief Advisor is going to be here for the concluding ceremony, and I hope you come with some very specific recommendation. You tell us very specifically what the government should do for you. Not for you, for the country. A very clear direction that we want from you. Thank you, once again, gentlemen. Allah.